2 of the LCK Grand Finals. KT Rolster versus ROX Tigers. KT manning out that in Italy first off.
Game 3, when KT first picked Rek'Sai away from Blank, we weren't sure if that was going to be exactly what KT needed, but combination of taking away comfort from Blank and Score making amazing moves in Game 3 and Game 4 of the Telecom War semi-final really opened things up for KT, so you have to think, if it's available, it's going to be taken.
And ROX Tigers banning away the Aurelion Soul. Interesting.
I think they want to take Taliyah on the red side, and they're kind of happy to give away Rek'Sai. It's not the greatest giveaway, but they want to take at least one of those picks.
Yeah.
So the Aurelion Soul being banned. Now we do see a little bit of an adaptation here with the GP heading out. Varus, an interesting ban and not one that I expected to see in this series. Yes, KT lost to Kuro's Varus the last time they met up in the regular season, and Fly's Varus is not phenomenal.
All right, so the Gnar's still available for KT, but yeah, I think picking that Taliyah first is certainly very tempting.
Because the Gragas wasn't banned, that's why they're actually comfortable with first picking a Taliyah here.
I mean, Gragas and Elise are both up, so they're both definitely considered junglers. And wow, our first Jhin is going to be Braid, 9-1 in the regular season. We remember Arrow's heroics, they were outstanding in the playoffs, but he's been on fire, Prey, on Jhin all season.
Yeah, and again, blocker picks. We saw this in the first draft here in game number 1, where the Tigers were primarily interested in taking away those core picks that allowed KT to come back. It was the champions like the Jhin and the Rek'Sai that gave KT the power to reverse sweep SK Telecom. So as long as Tigers keep picking that, KT has to win with something else.
And I think here for Kuro, you might be thinking, okay, Taliyah's a very difficult matchup in the mid lane. What's he got prepared? We know he's been practicing the Lissandra in solo queue. It's got the fast wave clear to at least keep up and then the teleport to follow. So I think Lissandra does loom as the likely mid lane for ROX Tigers.
I think the big question too is, is this finally the moment maybe that Smab, oh never mind the Gnar's ban. They got me.
They got you.
Those tiny little icons got me.
I mean, the Echo and the Ezreal coming through again, I'm just really not confident in these drafts from KT. Yes, there's no GP this game, so the Echo does increase in priority.
But why no Ashe? Why no Sivir?
Exactly.
Why suddenly pivot towards a champion that really holds you back from the traditional 1-3-1 that KT loves to play?
It is a bit surprising. Smeb mulling over the Shen this time around. If
it's Shen, Lissandra, Rek'Sai, like the amount of global pressure is just unbelievable, but let's see if Kuro has something else, because he does sometimes have these pocket picks against some of the tricky mid lane matchups.
Even though they would have a lot of globals with that composition,
there it is.
Jhin is going to be left out to dry, because those are 3 champions that are going directly into the back line of KT Rolster, so they've got to get something, a support that can really peel for the Jhin.
Worth noting that Trundle, of course, answers the Shen and is available, even it has to be a support pick on the side of KT, so I think you kind of need the Trundle, because Rek'Sai Shen is a really powerful front line.
I agree. I think you do have to take the Trundle here. They may be thinking as a possible Jhin counter pick for the Braum, able to drop to block the curtain call, but I don't think that's the right direction to go.
We'll see if they lock it in. They will. So Chani will be taking that Braum.
Arrow's considering locking in top lane Rammus. Actually, it would be a jungle Rammus, so he's just kidding around, unless...
Could be a jungle Echo.
That's true. Last time I remember jungle Echo was Peanuts sticking up the joint at the last grand final.
Yeah. All right, that makes a bit more sense if it ends up being the Elise. Thinking about it.
I don't know. I think dropping the potential Gragas pick here may be a mistake. They would have more disengage. I think Gragas is better.
All right, Gragas locked in. One more pick over to the ROX Tigers.
The reason why you need the Gragas is with the hard engage from Lissandra, Shen, and Rek'Sai, you really want to be able to throw that cast down and buy some space for Arrow on that Ezreal to work with, give him another way to get back to a healthy range where he's not going to be blown up.
If it is the Alistar, it's the screw you, Jhin, we're all going in, you're around the back trying to do damage comp. The Trundle is a bit more of a measured choice. We saw Gorilla look excellent on it in the previous game, and they've got the Echo and the Gragas for a frontline Braum as well, so a lot of value for the Trundle ult for ROX Tigers as well.
I like the Trundle a little bit better here. I think they do need to peel for prey, and I think Gorilla, like you mentioned, had a fantastic game one on it, so why not? But they will lock it in.
There are more champions you could potentially go for here. Remember, the Karma is up this game, and Jhin Karma would actually provide a lot more lane pressure, especially against the Ezreal and the Braum in the early stages. So they opt for a pick that is going to scale very well with the ability to ult some of these big tanks in the late game. But they forego a bit of lane pressure for that. And with all the globals, I think you double down on the Karma here, and then you just try and use Stand United and TP on the Lissandra to dive bot lane early. There's no reason to really pick the Trundle, in my opinion.
Once again, KT have a pressure advantage. I think it's Operation Get Fly Ahead. I think if Score can really set up this Taliyah to go around the map, make plays, maybe you can get it done, but you have to really worry about what this game looks like mid to late for ROX Tigers.
Well, we've certainly seen Fly have some pretty amazing games on that Taliyah this season, so it's a good pick to do that with. I'm kind of curious, though, about Someday in this game. You know, are we going to see him be a bit more calm in lane? You know, or are we going to see him give up more of those 1v1s? A little bit harder to do that against the Shen, I suppose, but still, it's a concern.
It is. Shen is a defensive pick. He is going to be able to dodge out on some of those passive procs and passive stacks from the Echo, so it should just be farming and then trying to make plays in the bottom lane. That's why the Trundle is okay. I just don't think it's ideal to the way they really want to play with globals in the mid game and snowball off of a big lead from aggressive dive play with this Lissandra and Shen combination.
Score is one of the best Gragas's I can remember. His Worlds performances were amazing. 8-3 on the season, 8-1 before playoffs though. He has struggled a little bit on playoffs to make the same impact on the Gragas.
Well, at least he's giving himself a chance. Gorilla, yet again on that Trundle, had a great game one with it. And Chani grabbing the Braum, trying to block a little bit of damage coming out of that Jhin. See how he can do. But it is time. KT Rolster trying to tie up this series against the ROX Tigers. Let's see if they can do it. It's game time. Welcome to Summoner's Rift yet again. Ocean Drake starting us off here in KT Rolster versus ROX Tigers, game number 2. The LCK Summer Grand Finals on OGN. KT Rolster losing game 1 pretty handily, so we'll see what they have in store here in game 2.
I don't get this Ezreal emphasis. I think that's the most confusing part to me. This was a game where we've seen Arrow, who's had good performances on Sivir and on Ashe, and instead going for a pretty admittedly weak early game. And the problem is that it puts pressure on Someday to perform in the 1v1. And with how well he's been doing in the playoffs, he hasn't really looked ready to shoulder that burden. And I think you should put the pressure game somewhere else on the map at this point. Arrow's been the one stepping up. If this were the regular season, I could see this working, but for how these players have been performing in their gauntlet run, it's just not doing it for me.
And we saw a lot of Ezreal priority right at the tail end of spring season, when Poppy was at full power, when diving the backline was all the rage, and it made sense then. It just doesn't feel like the meta has gotten to a place where you overlook Ashe and Sivir for an Ezreal pick. Remember, all of that was on the board, and he took the Jhin, I guess ostensibly. I mean, given how much Jhin he plays, maybe he's just confident in the laning matchup.
That certainly could be. Game matchups, Fly's Taliyah versus Kuro's Lissandra.
Yeah, Fly definitely has been the best Taliyah player we've seen in this league. Kuro was outstanding on it, winning the MVP on the pick in game number 1 of this series, but overall Fly has been the model of consistency on the Taliyah. Not gonna have the Ghost this game though. Is opting for the cleanse to deal with the Lissandra ultimate instead. So playing it pretty safe, also just in case he does get taunted by the Shen in the late game.
I mean, you call it safety, but very quickly it could be Lissandra, Rek'Sai, Shen in the lane, and without cleanse, you're just dead. So, I mean, it is less mobility, but don't really think you have an option given what ROX has selected.
Yeah, a lot of engage coming out of the ROX Tigers, obviously. They played a good aggressive game in game 1. So definitely something to worry about. Coming down now.
They know where Peanut is. They do have a ward in the bottom jungle.
Chani was able to just walk in there and do that. Someday getting a little bit low. Ooh. And every time you see that, you just get a little bit worried about this guy. He's been so shaky lately up in the top lane.
Yeah, Someday knew that the jungler was bottom side though, so he's not going to be too concerned.
I suppose.
And Shen not going to have much more damage to deal, so he does safely push the wave up, and we'll be looking to get a quick and early shop in. Bro, actually going to get donated the first blue buff of the game.
Okay, well, I think they really want to give this Lissandra every advantage they can. They know the strength of Fly's Talia. Probably not a bad idea.
I mean, Rek'Sai doesn't lose anything, and also Talia has such impressive wave clear that at least Lissandra now doesn't have to worry about mana concerns to at least match the tempo in the mid lane. You have to, you re-edit history a little bit when you look back at the semi-final between KT and SKT. Sure, KT was impressive, but not in the early game. The early game, they struggled. We remember Faker bossing around Fly in multiple games, then KT getting some kills and getting ahead. Actually, between the regular season and playoffs, KT's early games on Fly and Arrow have gotten worse. They're both 5 CS further behind at 10 minutes than they were in the regular season, and Score putting out fires is what got them through specifically Game 3 and Game 4. He wasn't able to really make the plays in Game 1, and unfortunately fell behind, and so did the rest of his team.
Yeah, Game 4 in particular, where he got multiple successful ganks off, and even though KT has been falling behind in the mid and bot lane, they've actually maintained some pretty healthy gold advantages in 15 minutes. But that's coming from Score having
Kills.
a 57% first blood rate in the regular season, at 50% currently in the playoffs. So it's been the first blood brothers of Score and Someday that have been getting early advantages. And when Someday is playing like this, those do not come as frequently as they did throughout the regular season.
The play that Score made where he stole Cassiopeia's blue buff, got a successful gank bottom, then killed Faker in mid, literally won 2 lanes and denied blue from Cassio, who was zoning away Fly's Aurelion Soul. Those sort of plays, that's such a clutch play to make in a Game 4 when you're behind series point. Needs to try and come up with that level of performance, and it's worth noting he wasn't able to do that in 2 games of Gragas against SKT.
Yeah, took getting that Rek'Sai back.
A Score lurking in the enemy jungle here, waiting to try to steal that ground piece. Got the ward there, throws the barrel in. Doesn't get it though. Peanut able to smite it away. When you combine Peanut with Smite, you get Smeanut. Oh, there you go.
I think that was, if Peanut was Captain Hook's first mate.
Mr. Smeanut then, yeah. Exactly.
KT really buying the laning on. Look at this double Dorans in mid and top lane. So you definitely want to have the combat stats to at least have the flexibility to push lane and provide that pressure to facilitate Score playing more aggressively.
Well, Someday getting aggressive on the Smeb right now, but he's the one who's taking damage.
You can't trade right there because you can't actually stack up your passive on the Shen. So Shen he pulls that sword through you, do quite a hefty amount of damage. Yeah. Someday's not going tank items this time, which I think is a bit of a relief.
Yeah, the function of building double Dorans now, the Negatron in mid, is literally to push and allow the Gragas to look for those steals on the ground, to hold Peanut accountable. He's going to try and be the battle ward this time, Score, against the man himself, Peanut. So if you're going to invest this much on gold that isn't going to be useful in the mid to late game, you have to make the plays now.
Speaking of making plays, Peanut, think about making one here in the mid.
He spotted the ward going down.
I think Fly is certainly ready for this. Playing like he is.
He also knows Sakura just hit 6 and they may be looking for a gank.
Yeah, makes sense. Peanut's still sticking around though for the moment. Meanwhile down the bot lane, just some trading going on like you would normally expect to see.
Yeah, but this extended laning phase is actually serving KT because they're not going to spend as much time with just a tier. The longer they can keep the 2v2 going on, maybe Arrow will be able to go back and pick up both a tier and a Sheen, which would make this lane phase a little bit different. We'll see how Prey wants to roll with this Jhin, if he's going to be going for a more late game build or he's going to go for the full armor penetration. I think he should go for the early game armor penetration build with the Lissandra and the Shen, and they should just try and snowball this and dive early.
Yeah.
We saw Arrow, for example, messing around with different builds as Someday continues to loot trades in top, but we did see some Infinity Edge first, Essence Reaver, but Arrow definitely favored going for the Yomus where appropriate. So given the explosive mid game, I agree with you. I think that has to be the way forward here.
Peanut maybe able to find a bit of a collapse here. There's no wards. Okay, Johnny did just ward. I believe he got spotted. Got hit with the Prey Seeker too, so.
Yeah, you can't all in with no
He knows
items,
what's up.
so.
Yeah. Oh, score. Finds Peanut. They're going to mix it up. Peanut gets back into the Dragon Pit.
Peanut didn't have the lane pressure to make a play like that, but is Rek'Sai, so no worries getting away.
Somebody's been very aggressively using both his teleport and the chrono break this game just to keep the pressure on this map. Hasn't translated into a CS lead. In fact, that goes over to Smeb himself, but just keeping the Shen at bay a little bit.
Smeb not too worried about getting stunned there.
Someday pretty convincingly losing this in spite of having an item advantage.
The only way that you can win those trades as the Echo is if there's a gank and you at least get some damage in. The moment that you're actually getting value out of the passive missing health damage, then the trades go well with Echo, who can also reset his own health pool. But if they're both full health and run at each other, Smeb will win every time.
Peanut back in that mid lane again. And Fly this time with no ward. They might not know he's there. Kuro trying to draw him up into the river, not successful though. Peanut going to come in now. Kuro chasing, he's going to go in. Fly still has that cleanse.
Ooh.
And they even use the Stand United there too.
Misexecution, but good read from Fly. He got just out of range. Kuro couldn't pop that ultimate to slow him down even a little bit.
Well, that's so big that Fly didn't even need to use the cleanse to get out of that.
Yeah. A little bit overeager, I think, right there. It cost Smeb some time in that top side. Of course, still does have the teleport to follow up on any further globals.
Yeah. But let's talk about the why. Why did they use so much their rocks? Because if you get flash down or cleanse down, if you can't afford to walk and aggressively wave clear, Smeb's just wailing away on Someday at the top.
Well, Someday having to use that ultimate to get a bit of health back.
But if Taliyah has to hang back and Lissandra can actually push the Taliyah in, then the teleport plays will start happening.
Yep, that's right. Gorilla found out a bit. Arrow going in, but Peanut right there for the knockup. Oh, nice deadly flourish. Bray pops the ultimate, gonna try to find first blood here, but Peanut may end up giving it away. Score with the explosive cast after Peanut's exhausted, but somehow, some way, ROX Tigers come away with that first blood. KT on the run now. Another great deadly flourish from Bray, but Fly's the one who picks up the next
kill.
kill.
Careful.
Gonna go 1 for 1, and here comes a big TP for Someday. Could be real bad for ROX Tigers. Did I say bad for ROX Tigers? I mean, okay, maybe it is pretty even after all. Fly with a double in the end. And this is just as crazy and chaotic as game 1, and Smeb crucially not having that Stand United to participate.
Well, he had his TP, but he canceled it, and Someday had to run through the enemy jungle to actually get far enough away from the taunt to join that fight.
And Peanut coming out of vision here was the big master. Katani can't stop the first bolt. That's not the biggest factor, but because they got the first kill, that was what really allowed it. And remember, Smeb doesn't enter the fight, so 2 for 2 without having to invest your top lane. It's pretty good for ROX Tigers.
There's no real follow-up here. No turret taken for KT Rolster. Prey use that flash aggressively just to pick up that last kill, but double for Fly is going to be very nice. He is how this composition is going to operate. If he's ahead, then KT has a chance.
Score going in hard on the Peanut, who's in the enemy jungle. Peanut may be a little bit too far ahead. Gonna escape the top lane. Back to the safety of Smeb, who's trying to block Fly off from coming up. Fly actually just finding Smeb straight up, and Smeb and Peanut on the run now. Fly looking for another kill. Peanut avoids the knockback. Flash though for Someday coming in. Peanut's so low, and Fly gets another one. In fact, they may get 2. Smeb's still alive for the moment. Oh boy, wow, Fly goes in, grabs another double, and that is why you do not let this guy have Taliyah.
That's why you don't let anybody have Taliyah right now. She is probably the most powerful champion in this meta, and Fly has shown that he is a master on her. KT bouncing back. Peanut with a little bit too deep of an invade right there without enough information, and that is going to be the ROX Tigers getting punished.
I mean, think about how ROX Tigers shaped the meta around Teleport Lissandra in spring season. Well, how about a champion that can push faster and earlier than a Lissandra and has a global, doesn't even need Teleport to make these plays, but that is what the function of Taliyah is. 4-0. Fly's finally in a position to really affect this game.
Yeah, flashing forward right there to help pick up the kill. Smeb can't quite get out of this one. Nice tanking by Someday until he could use that chrono break, and then Score taking the extra shots to give Fly time to dive underneath that turret and finish it off. So now we have all 4 kills on KT Rolster going over to this Talia, and Fly is primed to make some plays.
Well, they get that first brick gold as well for taking the first turret of the game. And that's going to give them about a little over 1,000 gold lead.
And that is some of the work that Someday was doing. Yes, he was losing those trades, but he was repeatedly chipping out the turret by pushing in that top wave, by using his teleport and his chrono break very liberally, along with a lot of recalls in the early game. So making an effect here, is behind on CS, but has a couple of assists and did contribute to taking down the first turret.
I mean, he was really giving up his health bar again and again, running into a brick wall to create the pressure we talked about. The double Dorans, suiciding basically without dying, importantly for Someday, but just pushing aggressively for pressure. And this time KT really profits from it, and none more so than the man on your screen.
Yeah.
Suiciding without dying.
Yeah.
The dream.
The dream. Suicide is painless.
I've heard that's hard to do, man.
Usually we just call it sacrificing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You got me there.
Well,
Zombie pushing, let's say.
Great, I love it.
redefining the meta in a new way, really. Well, the ROX Tigers have to be careful here.
Party in the mid lane.
Mina coming in. Sand United on the Kuro. They're going to go deep on the Fly. They really want to punish him. There's the Lissandra ultimate. And they're going to use the ult from Prey as well just to secure that one. Explosive cast from Score. Slows up Smeb just a bit. Kuro on his own. Throws a ward over the wall. W to slow things up. But that's another kill for KT.
Nice ult.
And here comes Arrow. Yeah, that's right. A great ult. And now KT in charge of this fight. Smeb trying to stay alive, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Someday has to be a little bit careful, but that's another kill, and KT starting to run away with this one a little bit.
Score with a critical play right there, because he threw the cask. You may think it was early, but what it did was it kept ROX in the KT jungle so that everybody could get there in order to follow up. Also, Hachani got the perfect Glacial Fissure along one of those narrow jungle corridors, so a big overcommitment ROX did not expect Someday to be behind them.
I mean, ROX is just being so telegraphed at trying to help the mid lane. Already Fly has sidestepped 2 ganks, and now they brute force it in the most obvious way, get corralled into the enemy side of the map, and that's why they trade up. They're just being a little bit too straightforward. They've understood the threat. They know they need to lock down Fly, but Fly has been clever at really stopping there from being clear opportunities to do so.
Now, what do you do if you're the ROX Tigers? How do you start bringing it back around now?
Yeah, also important to note that Fly has pretty much had that bottom river brush pink warded this entire game. So the vision has been there for him to play on the bottom side of the mid lane and just play with distances with this Lissandra. But credit to Fly for really knowing that. He caused them to overcommit by baiting them underneath the turret. ROX Tigers take a risk, and it doesn't work out.
Yeah, trying to get a little bit of vision around that Ocean Drake. Anything really would help them catch up a little bit at this point.
This is where KT wanted to be in game 1. Trinity Force first from the Echo can apply pressure. Talia massively powerful in the mid lane, and Ezreal actually has room and space and can take a breath, farm up the tier, get those stacks in, and gets the reprieve in the early game that wasn't there for KT in game 1.
Arrow needs to be careful here. Oh, maybe Peanuts one who needs to be careful, gets a bit caught. Teleport coming in, Deadly Flourish catches Hachani. There's Someday. Kuro on his own completely, ults himself to try to buy some time, and Someday getting low. Stays alive with the ult. Oh, not quite though, a kill for Prey as he picks one up on the Jhin. ROX Tigers all very low, having to back away. There's a curtain call from Prey on that Jhin, looking for Fly, now turning it around. Gets one onto Hachani, Score a bit low. Fly trying to pick up a kill, but it's going to be Arrow that gets the double for KT. Oh, make it 3 for KT Rolster. And they turned this one right around 2-3.
ROX Tigers tried to be clever by double TPing onto the same ward. It looked like a bit of an overcommitment, but Shen was also there just to dodge backwards. However, KT handled that. They don't get flustered, and even though Someday goes down, they get enough damage on the backside of the fight from Arrow that they're really starting to snowball this. Turret and bot lane's gonna go down too.
You're just seeing the effect of the snowball gold, Monty, in a different game where you don't have a 4-0, I guess 4-1 entering the fight, now 5-1 Taliyah. You don't have the damage to take down the front line. So as you say, the double TP is clever. It does box. It's not the stand united. Kuro buys time and buys space, but Sunday not dying and actually being able to ult. Bought a bit of time. First kill did go to ROX Tigers, but Arrow free hitting in the back line. Fly doesn't die. Remember, you can see Prey changing target, can walk in, the workaround isn't there. Fly continues to put out damage,
Wow,
and
Score.
so many members of KT live on a sliver.
Yeah, Score actually pretty much just living there because of Gragas' passive more than anything else, able to walk away from that fight.
Well, it was a very close fight, but it was a fight that KT Rolster won, and now they're up 9-5 kills. They've extended that gold lead a little bit further, and if you're ROX Tigers, you certainly have to start worrying a bit.
ROX is really overcommitted to using the Shen ult on the mid lane this game. Fly hasn't been in range. They're trying to basically set up a play that is very difficult when the Taliyah has cleanse. And I think that a more bot lane focused style of using these globals would have been much more successful for ROX in this game.
All right, curtain call pop, Fly gets ulted for a second. Someday gonna soak a lot of that damage from the Jhin. Kuro knocked back. Last bolt comes through. True shot barrage does not hit Kuro. Someday goes in, helps Achani find one anyway. And now Prey backing off after being exhausted. Nice W on the Achani, gonna pick up a double kill now for the ROX Tigers. And Fly escaping with barely any health remaining. Ocean Drake not taken by KT just a moment ago too, so maybe an opportunity for the ROX Tigers here. We'll see what they want to do. Might just pressure this mid lane too.
Trying to get the Taliyah with the deadly flourish right there, but Fly too far back in lane to be hit by that.
Well, this is giving Smeb a lot of time to farm up and get some damage on the turret too.
Lane was pushed up to Smeb's top lane turrets. The fact that he didn't have to ult is kind of the big issue for KT. They wanted to draw out that stand united, allow for a free Ocean Drake take. That's why they started it early.
Yeah.
The pressure's been good from Someday, but the fact that they traded unevenly, they will get the Drake now.
That's sneaky, man. Coming over the back, taking it out of range of the vision from the Rift Scuttler.
Lissandra's really only occupying space 1 and 4, but look at who has all the gold on the side of ROX. It is that Jhin, 5 and 1, 2 items already. That is a super powerful 20-minute Jhin build.
Yes, he is. Yeah, Prey definitely the one who's going to want to, or going to have to kind of carry ROX Tigers in damage in this game.
So basically, KT need to find a way to interrupt the ult because they have no armor built on anyone. And if you get space here, remember the comp from ROX doesn't peel for Jhin at all. But if Jhin is this far ahead, he can open up so far away, that he doesn't even have to be in reaction range. So KT need to come up with a way to actually close distance to start a fight, rather than letting Jhin open up with the curtain call.
That's right. KT having to be a little bit careful in the mid lane. And wow, an Infernal Drake coming up next. That could be big. If the ROX Tigers can grab that one, that'll do a lot in bringing them back in this game. First, though, they need to just defend their turrets.
Yeah, this is the typical KT macro plan. You do see Fly. He likes to sit in the bottom lane, whether he's on Aurelion Sol or Echo, or on the Taliyah. And it's about triple lane pressure. This is KT's wheelhouse, their comfort zone. Fly is very good at roaming between mid and bot lanes to clear waves and to continue to push up further and further with these minion waves on the map. So KT, this is a very typical strategy that we might see from them around 20 minutes on these picks. So they do know how to apply the side minion wave pressure very evenly as well. This is where KT is really at their best generally.
And in against lesser teams, they usually pick up a lot of extra CS that's lost to the turrets because they're always the first to rotate. But ROX Tigers, they're best in the mid game. They're a super aggressive team. There isn't that same texture here. ROX is kept up in CS, so it's on KT to find the next way to grow their leads. Because for now, they're pushing in the Shen, but that's only relevant if they're making plays across the map.
I was speaking of making plays. Score trying to make one right there. Opts not to use the explosive cast. Doesn't seem to think he had an opportunity. But like you said, KT has to find the next step. They have to find the next way to keep extending that lead.
But look how methodical KT is in doing this.
Yeah, teleport coming in. There's Smeb. Gets slowed down immediately, though. Never going to get in range for that taunt.
And that's how you do it properly.
Now Echo with Trinity Force is going to have free time on this top lane inner turret, so ROX will want to make something out of this because they've opened up a big strategic hole here using that teleport.
Yeah, the Trinity Force Echo going to do quite a bit of damage. They do have the Tiamat Rek'Sai, though, to try and make it work. They're going to use another TP.
Wow, Kuro coming in now on the Lissandra. Peanut slowed down by that Time Winder. Can they actually catch Sunday? He does not have Flash. Might be able to do it. Kuro just barely out of range. He doesn't Flash for it, though.
And this is why KT is so good at these side minion wave pushes. Now, ROX has used 2 teleports to try and catch them out, but this is what applying pressure properly looks like.
Oh, here comes the Weaver's Wall. They catch Gorilla. Gorilla under the turret right now. Curtain call used, though. KT, be careful. Gorilla Flash is getting low. Sam United going to keep him healthy. Someday kind of on his own the back lines, does not get taunted. Score coming in as well. Gorilla again needs to be careful. Getting low, but there's a big explosive cast coming down to try to get Score to safety. He gets Lissandra ulted and has to back out, though. Big knockup from Achani using that Glacial Fissure, and now KT turning this fight around, giving the double kill over to Arrow on the Ezreal. And KT comes away successful from yet another one.
Big time MVP there was Someday. He was able to stop the curtain call by actually getting on top of the Jhin. Jhin has all the gold, wasn't able to get into auto attack range. He's so much about spells, but the spells were just hitting Someday or nobody. Meanwhile, once again, Arrow free hitting. This game, he's gotten accelerated, and Someday's having a whole load of fun, but not going to fall down just there.
That deadly flourish nearly was deadly for Someday.
Also, Arrow's Summoner heal saving Score was pretty clutch after the Lissandra ultimate.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, the split push here, this is how you do it right. You don't give your opponent the opportunity. You notice that Fly doesn't go past the river until Score is there. Score helps him escape. They burn those 2 teleports, and then ROX takes a bit of a optimistic fight, let's say. And everybody from KT already there, able to pick up a few more kills and extend this lead.
And I feel like we're noticing these fights go from being very close to being less and less each time, going more and more in favor of KT Rolster.
The only trump card they have is the Jhin. I said it before, I'll say it again. If Someday continues to interrupt that curtain call, I just don't see how the remaining members of ROX will do even chip damage to KT's front line.
It's also problematic that when you're playing this armor pen Jhin and you're behind, especially as we move into the mid game, it's all flat penetration, so once you get 2 to 3 armor items, he really doesn't do a whole lot of damage to champions any longer. And the only way to really deal with that is for Gorilla to ult a target first to eliminate some of the armor, but even so, that's he has to get in range to do that, and you really just want to poke them out with the curtain call first.
Well, KT wants to do more than poke. They want that mid lane turret. They're going to take Peanut first stand. United does not save him, and they're going to get the mid lane turret at the same time. Oh, big explosive cast, but no follow-up from KT. They're going to need to worry about that Infernal Drake. Comes up in about 15 seconds, and I've got a feeling they want that.
They certainly do. Not going to go for the Baron just yet. Clear out the wave, set up properly for the Infernal Drake, and just to add on to the lead that they've already gotten.
Should be an easy Infernal Drake for KT. Adding that to their Ocean Drake from earlier, and you got to look at this game and you think to yourself, how is ROX Tigers going to come back? I think it's going to be nearly impossible now.
With some really nice adaptations from Someday in the laning phase. He was so much smarter about pushing leads. Of course, you're always going to have that pushing advantage against a Shen, but pushing that advantage and having that top laner sense to back away when the pressure came in. So he's done his job so much more impressively than the previous game, and honestly, the biggest beneficiary is Arrow, who has had the time to scale, has a really fast 3-item build, and he's the difference. They're vindicating the Ezreal pick by just how smart they've been about pressure in the solo lane.
Vindicating the Echo pick too. Someday just hasn't been able to pull it off in playoffs. This game definitely looking good. Able to make the necessary plays, and now this is going to cause, if KT win this, for ROX to take a really second look at their draft, because sure, they've been great on Jhin, but it hasn't been their bread and butter. I'd say if you ask me what is Prey going to be playing in these playoffs, I would have said Ashe before Jhin, so maybe they have to go back to their own picks. The ones we saw in game number 1, rather than trying to play blocker here.
Maybe. Fly showing up in the top lane for the moment, just to push the wave.
And you have to have strong reliable, consistent damage from some source, and I feel like you get away with the Ezreal pick when you have Taliyah. I think Taliyah has shaped both games, and if you had a different mid laner here than Taliyah, it wouldn't have been the same story. Now, that's easy to say, but I think the Taliyah needs to be banned on both sides, to be honest.
Certainly seems that way. Speaking of Taliyah, Weaver's Wall comes through, Prey rather, gets out just in time. Peanut Gorilla kind of stopped up, but no real danger there as KT pushes up the mid lane towards that tier 2.
Not a good way to commit off of the Weaver's Wall. Just a little bit of poke damage from Gragas and Ezreal.
ROX Tigers still trying to defend there. Whoa, Peanut gets slowed up, nearly picked off after Fly bounces him back. ROX Tigers in dire straits here.
Now, you asked how they can come back in this game, and one way they can still do it is through picks. There's no doubt here they still have a strong pick composition. They probably have to make 2 to 3 major picks with objectives in a row to come back, but it's not totally outside of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. They can do it.
They had the damage to do it though, Monty. I mean, the Jhin certainly does a bit of damage, but if Braum blocks some of it with the Unbreakable and then you're relying on Lissandra purely, I don't really know if there is both the target selection with a cleanse Taliyah. I mean, if your game plan is to kill Ezreal with Lissandra, you're gonna have a bad time.
Definitely true. KT moving in now on the mid lane tier 2. Kuro threatening to come in from the side, but doesn't follow through with it. It's going to be pretty hard to make that play.
Just a very methodical siege from KT. They're probably going to have to back off soon.
It's good to see KT not looking flustered from that game 1 loss as well. They're going to go in on the Peanut now. Deadly Flourish slows up score. He's going to get bounced back by the explosive cast, but no follow-up from KT. Curtain call used. And Arrow taking a lot of damage, but should live. Nice block by Achani. Coming over the wall. ROX Tigers, for the moment anyway, are able to save their mid lane tier 2 turret. Shot Barrage coming through with a bit of damage. Yep, Prey needs to stay safe. Weaver's Wall used, but doesn't really cut him off. They're going to take the red buff and back off.
Yeah, so KT needs a reset right now. ROX with a pretty good defense. Kuro constantly threatening that flank meant that KT could never really get within auto attack range of the tier 2 mid turret, so ROX Tigers will keep all their tier 2s intact for now. Again, a crucial pick. They still have all of the outer turrets, so they can chain objectives off of a pick very easily if they were to actually get one.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be a long shot, but you take out those 3 outer turrets, and all of a sudden this is a 3K gold lead, still with a disadvantageous comp for ROX in the late game, though. Also have to bear that in mind. And Prey is...
Prey, you are way out of position, buddy. Slowed down multiple times, flashes, barely avoids the explosive cast. A little bit surprised that Score didn't use that sooner, but we thought Prey was going to be able to flash it anyway, I suppose.
I think he could have gotten away with just baiting the flash without using the cast there, actually, but
could have been.
Score, but better safe than sorry. Does force the flash out for a low cooldown ultimate. Take that every time. They can wait once again for another Elemental Drake.
Yep.
Here, Ocean Drake number 2.
Going to be nice in avoiding, or rather mitigating, some of the poke damage that ROX Tigers can do.
ROX are in a position to sacrifice a lot of things. Baron controls the 1 though.
Pick onto Achani here, Gorilla, Prey, all there as well. Achani uses that Braum ultimate, but a clean pick for the ROX Tigers. Two-shot Barrage comes through, Fly coming from the side. Whoa, Score with the big engage body slam. And that's one already onto Prey, and ROX Tigers has no damage. Explosive cast used, trying to lock up Kuro. He's gonna get out on the E though. That's going to mean that KT has a good opportunity on this tier 2, both in bottom and in top. They get the one at bottom, and it looks like they'll get top lane as well. So the gold lead continuing to build, now up to about 9,000 gold for KT Rolster.
This game is so quintessentially KT this season. It's the floating mid laner of Fly, pushing up minion waves, split bush pressure in a 1-3-1, and then Hachani dying while initiating a team fight for the rest of his team to clean up. This couldn't be a more KT game if you tried. And now they are firmly in control. looking to move forward, take this last remaining inner turret, and then move on to the Baron.
ROX Tigers kind of out of luck in this one, it seems like.
Just like game one, it's really hard to see the combat mechanism. Sure, the comp has great pick choices, pick options, but the choices they have now, Cleanse in the mid lane, QSS on Ezreal. I don't really know who you're going to kill with the Lissandra Jhin.
I mean, you wouldn't just need 1 or 2 picks, too. You would need many, many picks if your ROX Tigers have any chance of coming back. And there's another Ocean Drake. And Arrow with that QSS going to be nearly impossible to lock him down now.
I mean, it's the armor against the flat armor pen. Jhin.
Yep.
It is the QSS, it's the GA in the top lane, it's the Cleanse in the mid lane. Like, the pick options are rapidly dwindling the longer this game goes on.
Yeah. And
it's going in favor of KT.
And then Braum also has a Mikhail's just in case someone messes up, so yeah. Credit to KT, we talked about the picks they didn't take, the Trundles of the world. They played around their draft well, and most crucially, their superstar top laner played super smart in the early game, drew aggro, didn't die, got the Trinity Force first, didn't have to go into an emergency Sunfire, and I think the top lane changed the game the most compared to game one.
I think that ROX trying to spend too many ultimates in an attempt to gank the mid lane was the biggest factor. The teleports were really bad. So ROX, I think, more than anything, didn't play their early game properly to snowball, and this is the result.
Yep, score coming in onto Peanut now. And ROX Tigers have no choice but to continue backing away. Slowly, we're seeing the slow strangling death of the ROX Tigers here. Weaver's Wall locks up Prey kind of behind that turret. They're going for the tier 2. KT taking the objective. No issues there. And yep, I mean, it's very calm, very methodical. What more can you say? KT closing this one out smoothly.
They do seem pretty reticent to start the Baron, though. It was a realistic objective for a long time, but it's also the one place you might clump for a big engage for Lissandra. So they're going to bait it now.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that you take those inner turrets, and KT, when they were losing,
Oh, Peanut getting a little bit too close. KT had the ward there to spot him out. Takes a lot of damage. On his way. It does delay the Baron for the moment, though.
I really think that after KT spent the sort of the middle part of the summer season losing some games because of throwing Baron, it was drilled into them by their coaching staff to just play a little bit slower.
Peanut behind enemy lines in a big way. So is Prey and Kuro. Achani tries to get Prey with the ultimate. Takes a lot of damage. Gets exhausted. They get the kill. Explosive Cast comes in for now. Prey's still okay. Smeb locking at the back lines, and Score is a bit separated. Smeb has to back off. Getting very low, and it looks like they're going to be able to finally pick up Gorilla. Score, though, on his own, as Someday gets one. Score coming back with that GA. ROX Tigers fighting this as hard as they can, and now the curtain call coming in. Can they possibly turn it around? One more, maybe. No, not enough. Arrow with the kill instead, with the double kill now. And KT, they are just looking unstoppable at this point.
Someday total boss in that team fight too.
Yeah.
Again, helping his team to chase them down, coming out with a sliver of health, not even popping his GA. Now they're going to be able to transition into the Baron.
It was also the best case scenario for Prey. He was able to do consistent damage despite not having flash. He's got the flash up now. Probably going to need to use it.
Yeah, Someday trying to go in, gets caught a little bit. There's the ultimate from Lissandra. They might have to trade their top laner for the Baron, or maybe not.
They don't have the damage taken down through Guardian Angel, so
guess not, yeah.
Probably smart to back away, but yeah, Prey doing the most he could, and yet the front line, the consistent damage from Arrow was the big difference. You're going to see the replay here. It was a nice engage on Achani. It drew out the fight. KT just wanted to fight. They were going to take anyone they could get. But Achani, even though he ends up dying, he does it because they know they'll win an extended fight.
And that's how Achani does it. He flash ults every time to get into some of these fights. He will sacrifice himself, but look at what he draws out. Most crucially, the Lissandra ultimate. Now they don't have enough damage. They don't have enough tools left in this fight to actually take it home. And Smeb is super tanky, but Arrow is now a late game Ezreal. It's one of the highest damage carries in League of Legends. And he's able just to eventually burn down the front line.
I mean, just consider that in this fight where the Jhin is able to do consistent damage the whole time, it still goes landslide to the start of KT in the fight at the start of 4v5. That lets you know how far ahead KT is.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's obvious that KT is just way, way, way ahead. of the ROX Tigers, and there's just no coming back, frankly, at this point. ROX Tigers probably gonna have to start thinking ahead towards game 3 now, but man, we have got ourselves a series, don't we?
Yeah. You know what, Papa? I'm waiting to see if there's gonna be a dive here.
Oh, they're just going to use the wall to block off the ROX Tigers as they take out the inhibitor turret. Curtain Call not really doing much at all. And KT, I mean, just kind of bulldozing their way into the enemy base.
We didn't talk about the top catch.
Not yet. All right, ROX Tigers trying to fight for their lives. Prey kept safe with the Sand United for the moment. Someday trying to get on top of him. Their score gets popped by the turret. Prey still alive for the moment. KT going very deep for this. But Prey, Prey. Run or walk very quickly. Nope, that's not gonna be enough. And that should be about it. They do lose score, but they get the inhibitor. They can try to stick around, or they can probably back away, but nope. Looks like it's about time to end. Only Lissandra and Rek'Sai to worry about here. And so why not try to finish it off? So KT fighting off Peanut and Kuro at the very end here. Gonna get one. Someday a bit low, taking damage from both turrets as Kuro tries to escape. Zhonya's at the last moment. Gorilla does come back in time. Arrow, though, able to QSS right away out of any CC that Gorilla can throw his way. Meanwhile, the Nexus turret's going down, and there is no stopping KT Rolster here. They will tie up this series 1-1. GG.
We were skeptical about the draft, Monty, but the extra factor of having the Taliyah, so they had 2 pushing lanes, allowed the Ezreal pick to actually gestate and get to where it needed to get. Now, it was still risky. It still required them to play really well in the early game, but I think having that Taliyah was the extra tool KT needed to make this Ezreal they clearly value well. Remember, the Ezreal was taken over Ashe and Sivir, who were both available.
Well, I also just think it was overcommitments from the ROX Tigers in the mid lane, trying to especially the second time they tried to kill the Taliyah with the Shen ultimate, and they dove into the turret in order to do it. There was just too much risk there. So I think it was a bit of overcommitment and pressure in the wrong places instead of playing around the Jhin. But I was going to say, Papa, one thing we have to consider is Tahm Kench has been totally absent in this series, which is very unusual for our playoffs here in Korea. And I think that the Trundle, not the best pick in this game for the ROX Tigers. We talked about having more peel-oriented champions, so at least there was somebody to save the Jhin. Tahm Kench could have come in. I think Tahm Kench will come in at some point in this series.
Also would have been a good pick for KT. They could have taken it over the Braum as well.
Yeah, I don't think either of the support picks were great.
Well, the good news is that we are all tied up 1-1. No 3-0s this time around. KT Rolster and ROX Tigers. Anybody could take this one. It is blown wide open now. Can't wait for picks and bans here in game number 3. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly. KT Rolster versus the ROX Tigers. Game 3 coming at you here on the LCK Summer Grand Finals on OGN. We'll be back in just a few, and we will see you then. Bye.